Core strength is a hot topic because people are told that they need to have a strong core and they don't know what in the world that means. And the people who are writing these articles don't know what in the world that means. Having a strong core, the definition of strength is how much weight or how much load you could move. And that's kind of what your core is supposed to do, but that's not what we visually think about. When people think of I have a strong core, they think shredded with a six pack. Having a strong core is really about power generation. And even then, that does not paint the entire picture of what a strong core should be because of what it does for us. I've seen lots of people who have a strong core, as in they're able to do some pretty impressive feats of exercise, whether they're holding like 2-minute long planks or they're doing like dragon flags or something insane like that. But then they wind up with back pain because they're doing something incorrectly where they're not utilizing their core when they should. So it becomes a user error problem. Case in point, I had a client who was a yoga instructor. She was able to hit these poses and demonstrated fantastic core control. And then when we would do kettlebell swings, she would complain about having back pain. She had a strong core. She just had not been trained to use her core correctly when performing certain movements. And so a lot of times we get this false sense of security when we're told, do these exercises and you'll get a strong core. And we think, well, now that I have a strong core, now it'll serve me well for the rest of my life. Well, if you're not told how to do different techniques correctly or trained to do them correctly, you're kind of creating, again, this false sense of security where now you assume you're doing it, I have, therefore I can. And the reality is that now you're actually more likely to get into trouble because you're taking more risks, assuming that you're safe. So even if you are an athlete and you feel like you are fit and you are getting into something new that you're not accustomed to, like if you're going from yoga to weightlifting, you're probably very athletic. You probably have good mobility. You probably have good core stability. But then when it comes to bracing for like a back squat or kettlebell swings or a more arduous gymnastics movement, you may have the groundwork, but without the experience or the correct technique to support that, you could be setting yourself for injury because you are going to be more likely to jump headlong into something without the appropriate parachute. Whereas someone who's totally deconditioned feels like they're a little bit weaker, and so they're going to be more cautious and seek that guidance to make sure that what they're doing is correct so that they don't get hurt. So the best thing for developing core control, or I should say core experience, is to check your ego at the door and seek proper guidance when engaging in new movements. The more varied your tool set in terms of exercises that you engage in, the more carryover you're going to have through life and other movements that you're going to learn along the way. And after you've experienced lots of different exercises and training modalities, and then you start to feel like you have a good sense of core control.